Hi there, it's Darren Rouse from ProBlogger here. One of the things I see a lot of bloggers falling into the trap of is just adding to the echo chamber of the blogosphere. And what I mean by that is quite often you see these posts going around topics that everyone's talking about, but no one's really saying anything different. A lot of bloggers will just link to another blog and take a quote from it and just have that as their post, or they'll republish the whole post without actually saying anything of their own. One of the things that makes a successful blogger unique is that they often have something of their own to say. They add to the conversation rather than just repost what everyone else is reposting. Whether that be copying and pasting, or whether that just be rewriting stuff that other people are rewriting. So what I want to do today is suggest a few ways that you can add to conversation rather than just regurgitate what everyone else is doing. The first thing I'd say is if you're linking to another blogger, don't just take a quote and make that your post, or don't just take their whole post and repost that. Actually add to it, and one of the ways you can do that is to point out what they said well. So start with why you're linking to it, why you like the quote, what is it about it that grabs your attention, that means something to you. This begins to add to the conversation. Another thing you can do is point out what they missed, or add to it by saying something that they didn't say. So you may say, this is a great article, I like it because of these reasons, but I'd add to it by adding these points. This is something that I think extends the conversation for them. If the other blogger leaves unanswered questions in their post, answer those questions. Actually take the post to the next level by responding with an answer to that blogger. Another way that you can do it is to aggregate what different people are saying on a particular topic. So if one blogger is talking about one thing, instead of just linking to that blogger and reporting on what they are saying, actually do a bit of research and look at what other bloggers are saying right now or in the past. So you might take the topic and look back on 10 different blogs and what they've said about that particular topic. And in doing so, you're actually being more useful than just repeating what one person has said. Another thing that you can do to add to a conversation is talk about it in personal terms and say how it applies to you, what it actually means to you, how it solves a problem for you, or what questions it leaves you with. If you can personalize a breaking news story or what another blogger is saying and actually interpret it and explain it through your own eyes, then that's interesting, that's useful to people, because it shows them how something might apply to them also. Another thing that you can do is to, with a news story in particular, if it's breaking and everyone's talking about it, you can actually, rather than just report the news, you can add to it by looking forward into the future. So rather than just saying, here's a breaking news story, you can actually say, well, here's a breaking news story, and here's what I think the implications of that will be over the next few years. So, the Mac iPad comes out. Rather than just saying the Mac iPads come out, why don't you say, well, here's what I think Mac iPad version 2 and version 3 would be. Here's where I think this line of products will go. Looking forward in this way, you're actually doing something a bit different to what everyone else is saying. Most people are just saying, here's the iPad, here's its specifications. Extend it by looking forward. On the flip side, you can actually look back on these types of stories as well and actually look at the developments that have led up to a particular news being broken. And that way you're actually being interesting by actually showing people the thread of that news story looking back. And that can add a bit of interest to it as well. Another way you can do this similar is to extend ideas. So if a blogger writes a post, 10 ways to do something, why don't you extend that and say 11 ways or 20 ways or 100 ways? Actually take their 10 and then add to it by adding some of your own points. This extends and makes the conversation more useful. Another way that you can do is to actually take the opposite tack. So if someone's arguing strongly for a point, you can actually take the opposite viewpoint and argue that, which can, again, add to the conversation. It actually creates perhaps a bit of a debate. Another way you can do that is to play the devil's advocate. You may not actually disagree with the other blogger, but you can, in a playful way, disagree with them just to see what would happen if you did do that and to see where that conversation might lead. And I guess the last thing I'd say is a really useful question to ask when a news story is breaking, or when you're bouncing off another blogger's idea, is to ask the question, what if? Some of the best ideas in life come about when you say what if. You know, if you take a look at the iPad, which is popular at the moment, and ask what if Apple added this feature, that may extend the conversation and become actually quite useful by looking at the possibilities that extend out of an idea. There's 11 ways that you can be a bit different, that you can add to a conversation and break out of the echo chamber. I hope they're useful, and I encourage you to add to this conversation by adding some of your own ideas to this topic in comments below.